Hi, apologies for the video cutting off. I don't really know what happened there, but we'll just resume now with this second video. Last couple of things that I want to go through with you are the key concepts of reconstructive memory. So we've looked at kind of retrieval and recall and the importance of cues. We're now just going to have a look at this new concept, which is reconstructive memory. So reconstructive memory is this very strange idea proposed by a cognitive psychologist that your memory is not like a video recorder. It doesn't switch on and record absolutely everything in accurate detail. What they argue is that your memory is affected by many other cognitive processes, including your imagination, your stereotypes that you hold, and any held beliefs that you have. So they therefore argue that your memories consist of reconstructions rather than reproductions, and they would argue that we don't really remember anything exactly as it happened, or that's very, very rare. So let's take a closer look, The first key psychologist to investigate the notion of reconstructive memory was a guy called Bartlett. It's quite an old piece of research in 1932 known as the War of the Ghosts. So he found that participants could not accurately recall details of an Inuit, which is a Native American folk tale story called The War of the Ghosts, and actually changed some of the details and forgot about other details. It was like a Chinese whispers kind of scenario, and they had to retell the story to the next person in the chain. Now, what Bartlett suggested had happened is because they were unfamiliar with some of the unusual content, and you can pause it and have a read of the original War of the Ghosts story if you want to, he concluded that because it was unusual, because it was unfamiliar, they, not on purpose, but they had manipulated it to recall things in different ways. They shortened things down, they changed certain objects, and that's because they were basing the recollection on things that they'd already experienced. So it was based on their previous beliefs, previous stereotypes, rather than it being a reproduction of the actual story that they had been exposed to. Now, one key factor that plays a big part in reconstructive memory is schema. Now, we all have schemas. If you've got your highlighter pen, a schema is a mental template. We're at the top of page 24 now. Schema is a mental template of the world consisting of knowledge based on previous experiences and beliefs. Schema become really strongly embedded and internalized into an individual and can change our recall of events from memory, leading to our memories being reconstructed. So you can see some examples of schemas, and when you get back into the classroom, your teacher will probably do some kind of testing activities with you on this. But we have schemas for certain types of person, we have schemas for ourselves, we have schemas for social situations, we have schemas for certain events that we're going to encounter. And because these schemas are little building blocks of memory, what we think contain everything that we know about a type of person or a type of situation, rather than recalling what that person was actually like or what that event actually involved, we instead draw on our schema. We access this huge kind of filing cabinet in our memory, and we instead recall details of what we expected to see or to happen based on our schema rather than what we actually encountered. Now, these schema are formed very early on in life, and they are normally based on previous experiences and previous beliefs, as we've already said, but they unconsciously affect the interactions that we have with this world, and a lot of our memories are actually based on schemata rather than the actual event. Now, when we reconstruct a memory, there are three different things that we tend to do. And again, remember, none of this is on purpose. So, for example, when we take a type of memory and we fill in the gaps with stuff that we aren't familiar with, that's called confabulation. In other words, we genuinely can't remember something, so we just make things up. So that's confabulation. We fill in the gaps with things that we think happened. What we also do is we distort memories in order to provide a more plausible account, i.e. one which makes more sense to us. So if something doesn't really fit with a scenario or a person, you tend to change it so that it's something that does make sense. So that's rationalisation. And then latterly, and this is the most common, when we are not familiar with details that are unexpected, then they get removed. So this is what happened with the War of the Ghost. People's accounts of that story were drastically shortened. So because we're not expecting a particular element to appear in that memory, then we just get rid of it, we eliminate it. And this tends to happen in police interviews as well, so you don't recall absolutely everything. So that's the end of the material that I'm going to cover with you in this introductory video. Your teacher will probably do some tasks and activities with you to double check that you have understood this content before moving on to the remaining chunks of the cognitive approach. So maybe just go back over the stuff that we've done in this video, or videos because it cut me off, and just double check that you're familiar with some of the terminology and some of the key concepts. Okay guys?